Hello and welcome to your very first chemistry video for the year, where we're going to start off talking about Lab A. Now in your book, on one of the very first pages, or before we get to the title page, you're going to have a page that lists all of the safety symbols that we need to know about. And so we're going to talk about them here quickly, point out which ones are especially important for us and that you're going to run across this year. And these are the symbols that we're going to be using in class on Wednesday when we play our game. So the very first one is pretty important. We'll come across this frequently. The disposal symbol means that there are special instructions for getting rid of whatever we're dealing with for the day. The biggest thing you want to remember with disposal is that it usually means don't put anything down the drain, okay? That's the biggest thing you want to make sure you remember for disposal. The next one is the biological symbol, and that one means that there are organisms or a biological material that's going to be harmful for you. We really don't come across this much in our class at all, since we're focusing on inorganic chemistry for most of the year. After that, we have extreme temperature, which means that objects that can burn skin by being too cold or too hot. So we could either be dealing with Bunsen burners, hot plates, or things like liquid nitrogen, dry ice. Again, not something we do every day, but you want to make sure that you pay attention to this as well. The symbol does not mean put gloves on. Okay, it means that there's extreme temperature used. Next one that we have is sharp objects. Okay, and our sharp object symbol means that the use of tools or glassware will be used in this lab that can puncture or slice skin. If we're using razor blades, pins, scalpels, stuff like that, again, we don't worry about things like scalpels a whole lot because we're not dissecting, but occasionally glassware does break, and so we have to be careful for that. Next one is fume. And what fume means is that there could be danger to your respiratory tract if you breathe in the fumes from this. So what we want to make sure that we know for this one is that it's bad for your lungs, and so stay away from it. Stuff like this will usually be dealt with in the fume hood anyway, so it's really not that big a deal. After that, we have electrical, which is pretty easy one, pretty straightforward. It means, again, that there could be possible danger from shock or being burned from electrical appliances. Now our next one, it looks like another pair of gloves. It's different from our oven mitt one looking from extreme temperature, but irritant. Irritant means that we're working with chemicals or substances that could irritate the skin or mucous membranes, so like the inside of your nose, stuff like that. So pollen, mothballs, steel wool, things like that. And so for this one, the precaution is to wear dust mask and gloves. We don't do it a whole lot, but you want to make sure you know what that irritant symbol is. Then down at the bottom, our last symbol on this screen is chemical. Okay? And this symbol means that chemicals that can react with and destroy tissue and other materials. So anything that's that's a super strong acid or a super strong base is going to make this symbol come up, because really we deal with chemicals all the times, but we want to make sure that we're being especially careful if they're going to be super strong. So a lot of times if we're dealing with acids and bases on either of the extreme end of the pH scale, we're going to come up with it. Alright, so we already talked about chemical on the other screen. Alright, then toxic. This one you guys should know without me ever having to say anything. Toxic means that the substance may be poisonous if it's touched, inhaled, or swallowed. So you want to make sure that those 3 things are that you're keeping track of: touched, inhaled, and swallowed. Next, we have flammable and open flame, and these 2 can be rather tricky because they both have flames in the picture. And so the first one, flammable, means that open flame may ignite flammable chemicals, loose clothing, or hair. Okay? So open flame may ignite flammable chemicals. That's what this one is. The bottom one, open flame, means that there is an open flame in use and it may cause fire. Okay? This is the one that we see the most because whenever we use a Bunsen burner, that's going to be there. The one above, the flammable with the no symbol across the flame, is when we're dealing with chemicals like alcohols, kerosene, anything like that, that we want to avoid open flames when we have those around because the object we're using is flammable. Okay? So when we see that flammable symbol, that means that we want no flames. Okay? Bottom one is the one that we mean when we're using things like the Bunsen burner. Okay? So those 2 can. Okay, and then our last couple, the first one, you're going to see this all the time. It is dealing with eye safety. Wear your goggles all the time. That's what the symbol means. Okay, you see the pair of goggles? You got to put them on. Next, we have clothing protection. And it's the picture of the apron. And this symbol appears when substances could stain or burn clothing. So, when you see the picture of the apron, that means put one on. Animal safety is not one that we are going to have to deal with because we do not deal with any animals in chemistry at all. Radioactivity as well. We don't use radioactive materials because of safety guidelines, so you're not going to see that one. And then the last one is hand washing. And that one, after the lab, wash hands with soap and water before taking off your goggles. So that is going to be the other one that's going to be of importance from here. Okay? So what we're going to do tomorrow is play a game dealing with these safety symbols. But before you come to class tomorrow, I want you to head on over to Edmodo and take the safety quiz. Okay? I'm going to ask you just a few questions about what I talked about in this video, and that will be it. So, see you tomorrow.